You are listening to Vintage Beats Productions.
Welcome to the National Press Club, the house that we will not give back to Donald Trump. And we appreciate you all coming out to support what we have billed as the debate of the decade. My name is Hashim Zulu, chairman of the New Black Panther Party. So this time when I say Black Power, let me hear it. Black Power! Only Carmichael need to hear that. Fury do need to hear that. We got some people need to hear that. Okay. What we want to do, we want to get started. First, all roads lead to recovery, healing. And some people would say reparations, but this man is going to say it different. He's the author of the District of Columbia Recovery Act for Living Descendants, African Slaves. Let me introduce to you our brother, John Cheeks.
Good evening, distinguished people and honorable people. I respect you all for being here to listen to this message. I know that we use the word reparations. That's been ingrained in our head for a long time. I am the proposer of the D.C. Recovery Act for living descendants of American slaves. And guess what that means? Reparations. But of course, legally, it would not have proper standing to use reparations in asking for our benefits and the injuries that we've encountered, that our ancestors and also us have encountered along the way here. The new word is called recovery. Recovery goes into identity reparations and financial restitution, which I'm sure many of you have an interest in getting some form of payment back. The District of Columbia is the first place in the United States to submit a new law that will give us 250 years of benefits for us, our children, our grandchildren, to equal the playing field, to lift the different classes. We have low class, middle low class, middle upper class. It's going to rise all different classes. Yes, sir. You will be entitled to use these benefits. Unless you don't want them, you can always sign your waiver as an individual, not for your family, but as an individual. Because this effort is designed for us. You must be 40% of African or Haitian lineage, singular or combined, however you come in. The country knows who you are. The United States of America, they have your genetic code. Every one of us who's sitting in here, they know who our ancestors were, where they came in, who brought them in. And also we have to rethink how we conduct ourselves in the District of Columbia, who we vote for. With this Recovery Act, it's also going to go into places that some of you may not want to know, but you must know in order to be an informed voter here in the city. We can no longer vote for someone that says, oh, I'm not for the Recovery Act. Guess what you do? You don't vote for it. You walk away. You turn your back and you turn your ears off and walk away. Go ahead. Don't have a conscience. Whether they're Democrat, Republican, Green Party, Independent. This is about you and about us. This is our defining moment. in the District of Columbia. It starts here first.
Yes, sir.
We're going to go to Maryland, Virginia, to the Deep South, because we have to liberate our brothers and sisters in the Deep South. We have to go down to Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama and handle this. We can't go down there partying. This is not a party. This is a mission. This is not a movement. This is a mission. I understand if some of you all cannot disclose your I should say, involvement. I'm okay with that. Keep your mouth shut, pay your dues into the mission, and keep it going. We can no longer have divide between our people. We must end that.
Yes, yes.
It has killed us.
Yes.
Inside of the DC Recovery Act, there's what's called definitions.
Yes, sir.
We've got the legal terms, and we have the Black American terms. There's a number 82, it's called sellout.
Yes, sir.
Can I read it to you?
Yes.
I'm going to read, and then I'm going to leave this podium because I think you had enough. Let's see here. Sellout. Number 82. A racial description of a Black American who gives information or intelligence on another Black American who is advancing goodwill for the Black people of America. Traded for financial gains, employment position, elected office, contracts, or accepted membership of a secret society. That is the definition of sellout. And I'm going to end this by giving you the definition of what we call Black Power. And that's number 100.
Yes, sir.
Black Power is number 100.
Keep it 100.
None of my definitions are in alphabetical order because alphabetical terms do not apply to us. We are a numerical group of people. We run on and work on numbers. How much is your hourly wage? It's a number. It's not an alphabetical term. It's a number, right? Okay. 100, Black Power. An ethnic movement or mission for Black Americans who seek judicial protections, fair housing, and economic restitution of injuries encountered by criminal actors of domestic or international affiliations. Now the beauty of this new law in DC is the taxpayer does not pay.
What?
The taxpayer does not pay. So there's no excuse. This law is generated, the financial engine is generated by tariffs. T-A-R-R-I-F-S. Tariffs. That's a hidden cost inside of a product, bricks, concrete, sugar, tobacco, corn, beef, chicken, seafood. Every descendant in this room, ancestors, has contributed free labor toward that. So all of those products and associations and international governments, Spain, Portugal, France, England, Africa, they all owe. They all owe us. There's enough to go around and be repaid. So therefore, our European American brothers and sisters don't have to feel that they are remortgaging or refinancing their homes to pay for reparations. We don't need your money. We need the money that's owed. We don't need your money to come out of your family inheritance that some have made it through the backs of our ancestors.
How can we find out more?
I want each one of you all to go to a website, uscria.com. uscria.com. Please go to that website and look it up. And for the ones of you who are interested in receiving any type of information through mail, because I know we have some old timers here that hate the website, I'm with you. Give Brother Owens, we'll hand a sheet around where you write your name and address, and we'll mail you a copy of it where you can see, touch, feel, and pray over it. I'm not a religious guy, but I'm a spiritual guy. I believe in the spirit. I've had my ancestors speak to me as I was writing this document. It wasn't easy writing the injuries, mind you. And thank you for giving me the few minutes to enlighten you as to what's going on in the District of Columbia and other parts of the country of this U.S. to come. Thank you.
Give them a hand. You all know the reason y'all are here, in case y'all forgot. Just think about for a minute, look up. Think if you was in the bottom of a slave ship. Don't take the night lightly. We're fighting for some people that can't fight for themselves. Now, while you're in that slave ship, you picture Lewis Lattimore inventing the filament in that light bulb you're looking at. While you're in that slave ship, you think about Frederick Jones and put the transmitter in his microphone. Huh? While you're in that slave ship, you think about Patrice Lumumba giving the independence speech for the Congos. You think about Nkrumah freeing Ghana from the British. You think about, while you're in that slave ship, Maya Angelou telling you why the caged bird sings. Huh? So don't you stay in that slave ship for long. And don't think about Johnny Cochran fighting the best of them in Thurgood Marshall. We are. I'll leave that with you. We are. I'll let these great distinguished men do the rest tonight. I want to bring up Brother Frank Shaw to get everything started.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Black power, everybody, black power. Black power. Right. I see a lot of strong black trailblazers here tonight. Now I want to just remind you of a few things real quickly. We are here to ask a serious question and, more importantly, to think tank on some of these solutions of how we want to deal with Donald Trump, or I call him Donald Trump. All right? Now, we know we as black people, we have been oppressed under many different administrations, whether it be the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. And we are determined to put an end to that so our future generations no longer have to go through what the past generations and what we're currently going through. So we have some distinguished scholars, many distinguished guests who I will be introducing tonight. But first, I would like to introduce the moderators that are going to moderate this debate of the decade. I'd like to start off with Sister Hassani Muhammad. Come on out. Come on out, sister. Where you at, Hassani Muhammad? Give her a hand. Give her a hand. All right. I see my brother. I see my brother. Okay. Just got pulled out. All right. So we'll pull back on that for a minute. Where's my brother, Talib Sabah? Are you there? Come on out. Come on out. Give my hand. He's going to help us moderate this presentation tonight. Black boys and girls in the house. That's right. That's right. We got to know the law. We got to have civic rights classes. That's one of the brothers that's going to help us. Now, the next moderator I'd like to call is Amy Jenkins.
All right.
Amy Jenkins. She's a professor from Texas Southern University and has a master's degree in marriage and family counseling. Black power. You want black power too. Where's my brother, that premier journalist, that black journalist that everybody know for keeping the truth way before they Donald Trump started talking about fake news, this man kept it real with real news. Deshaun Farad, where you at? Come on out and help us with our moderator. Come on, Deshaun. Give us a hand. Give us a hand. All right. I don't know how many of y'all been watching the internet and watching black internet TV, but this man right here is the master of it, the House of Consciousness. I'm looking for my brother Reggie. Brother Reggie, where you at? Come on. Black News 102. All right. I forget anybody? All right, now. I want to also give a quick shout out to WBAI, he up and helped us out. And I want to give a quick shout out to WVFW here in DC. All right? And it is with great pleasure and honor that I want to give you just a short bio of one of the most prominent, provocative, democratic, socialist intellectuals anywhere. He is an alumni. All right. Let me back up.
Take your time, bro.
Oh. Brother Hakeem, I forgot about you. I forgot about you, sir. Oh, man, we got a moderator. This is one of the best moderators anyway, Brother Hakeem. All right. Somebody bring me a chair for Brother Hakeem. Can I give a chair? Somebody bring me a chair.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, I want to introduce the great doctor, author of many books, professor of Harvard, professor of Yale, and alumni of both.
That's right.
One of the top-notch theologians in the world. Y'all know who he is. I've heard himself refer to himself as the revolutionary Christian. It's my brother, and I love him. I love what he stands for. I don't know how Brother Malik gonna debate with him, but y'all gonna find out. Y'all gonna find out tonight. Y'all gonna see. I'm looking for the great intellectual activist, the scholar, Dr. Cornel West. Where you at? All right, thank you all. And I hope that you will get informed and help us towards the solution to the step-by-step plan that we need to do as Black nations. I'm going to hand it right back to the chairman, my brother, Hakeem Malvika.
He said, how did I do? You did good. You got to give our people opportunities. You got Brother Jeremy from Howard Law School. Where Brother Jeremy is? Brother Jeremy. Law School. So I get the privilege to bring to you a brother and a friend and a comrade, but most of all, a son and a father. I met Attorney Shabazz in 1994, a couple of blocks from here at Howard University. He had 1,500 people in a room, and the night was entitled The Black Holocaust. Y'all know when he had Tony Morton, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. And when I met him that night, I met a man of dignity. I met a man that was proud to be a man. I met a man that I was proud to call a man. So whatever you heard about Attorney Malik Shabazz, I'm going to let Dr. West defend him. You remember he got a daughter named Cece, and a giant for a mother. And he runs a black business and got black employees.
Yes.
And he graduated from Howard Law School. A lot of people graduate from law school, but they can't pass the bar. He passed the bar on the first time. Then we told him we needed it in New York. He went and passed it on the first time. We told him we needed it in LA. He went and passed it on the first time.
Yes.
He was passing bars like Trayvon Martin was trying to eat Skittles. He's brilliant. Then he became the chairman of the new Black Panther Party.
Yes, sir.
Could have easily hid in the suburbs. Got him a BMW and a credit card. Most of the time I was with him, we was at Motel 6 in the streets without people.
Yes.
Now here wear that suit. But here wear that other suit. So I want to introduce you to a man who brought us here today. And we're privileged to have a man in the house that he respects and we respect. Y'all know that man, that author of all those books. See, this is a moment we got to cherish. Don't rush it.
That's right.
This ain't no pop-up happiness. This is people being born, people work. Do you know what it takes to go to Howard University Law School where Charles Hampton, Houston taught Thurgood Marshall? Teach! Do you know what it takes to get through that law school and be a black revolutionary while you locking the president of the school in his office? We bring you my friend, Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz. Good evening.
Good evening.
So, thank you both for coming out. Dr. Cornel West, Dr. Malik Zulu Shabazz. Just to give the format of tonight's debate. So, each moderator will ask a question to the participants. Each participant will have 3 minutes to respond to the question asked of them. There will be a minute allotted for any follow-up questions that the moderator may have to you. The first segment will last about 30 minutes. There will be a 10-minute break while we switch moderators and go into the second part of our program, which will last approximately 45 minutes. We will then open the floor to questions from the audience for about an hour. After the question and answer segment from the audience, there will be a VIP meet and greet upstairs with refreshments. To start off, we will have opening statements from Attorney Shabazz and Dr. Cornel West. Dr. Cornel West, you can begin first.
Oh, thank you so very much. My dear brother ought to go first because he's younger than I am. Much more handsome. But I'm blessed to be here. And I'm here in part because when he called me, I couldn't wait to get here. Known him for 20 years. He's a love warrior. Younger generation, as I say, for me the intergenerational connection is very important. As you get closer to the world, you recognize you have to give what you have to give in order to pass it on to the younger generation. And we go back over 25 years. A lot of people are surprised about that because they know my dear brother, Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz, he is in fact one of the most significant, if not the most significant spokesperson for the Black Power wing of the Black freedom movement of his generation. And I'm old school. I come out of the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and Ella Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer. I'm Jesus-loving free black man, always interested in beginning on the chocolate side of town, but the multiracial coalition is always very important. So people don't recognize the degree to which the legacy of the great Marcus Garvey, the legacy of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the legacy of Minister Louis Farrakhan, the black nationalist tradition has always been there. It will always be there as long as we live in a white supremacist civilization. So the question is, how do we come together, overlap, have our disagreements as well as our agreement, but put the people at the center, because their suffering is what we want to keep the focus on.
Yes, sir.
How do we come up with insights, analysis, and programs that can empower those stone-called everyday people, or those James Cleveland called ordinary people? Yeah. Because they are rendered invisible. Their suffering oftentimes is an afterthought when it comes to politicians, economic elite, corporate elite, big banks, big corporations, corporate media, or those power structures that so deeply and disproportionately shape the lives of each and every one of us. How much time do I have?
Take your time, brother.
15 minutes at a time.
We got 15 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Oh, shoot, I'm going to slow this down. I don't want to take time away from my brother. Maybe get on a personal note then. I am who I am because somebody loved me. Somebody cared for me. Somebody attended me. All the talk about Harvard, Yale, Princeton, University of Paris, that's just sounding brass and tinkling cymbal compared to the love of my mother, Irene B. West, and my father, Clifton. Side of town, the Shiloh Baptist Church of Reverend Willie P. Cook and Deacon Hinton, Sarah Ray, my vacation Bible school teacher. And Cook was a pastor. He was not a CEO. Didn't have a mega church, but we had mega love.
Yes, sir.
And love of truth and love of beauty, and love of goodness and love of the holy. And we are living now in a neo-fascist era of Donald Trump, in which there's a spiritual blackout. There's the eclipse of integrity, honesty, decency, and courage. And what we need in the younger generation is for more young folk of all colors, but I'm talking about chocolate folks, to get on the love train.
Yes, sir.
That love of truth and beauty and goodness and holy, which means you have to be willing to sacrifice. And we're not talking about just being successful so people can somehow highlight how smart you are, how much money you have, or your big mansion in a vanilla suburb with your trophy spouse. I'm not impressed by none of that. What I learned in shaping in my family and church, and the Black Panther Party, Martin Luther King Jr., Medgar Evers, and Malcolm X, and the others, is the greatest among us will be our servant in terms of the willingness to tell the truth, and the condition of truth is always to allow suffering to speak. Anybody who claims that they're telling the truth is not highlighting the suffering of the least of these echoes of the 25th chapter of Matthew. It's a truncated truth. It's a narrow truth. It's a deodorized truth. I come from a people who like to keep it funky. We don't need deodorized discourses that hide and conceal the suffering. And we now live in a moment where there's such a crisis of black spokesmen and spokeswomen and leaders because so many of them have become so obsessed with fitting in. And fitting in means what? Being highly successful but well adjusted to injustice. Becoming well adapted to indifference. Great Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel used to say, indifference to evil is more evil than evil itself. Indifference is the one trait that makes the very angels. And we need black folk who are on fire. We do not need sunshine soldiers in the Trump era. We need all-season warriors. Professional, intellectual, musical, spiritual, doctors, lawyers, pharmacists, janitors, shoe shine, women and men, anybody who is still breathing has the capacity to be great in terms of your service to the least of these. And we're losing sight of that, and that's why for the younger generation, they need to be, the Sankofa sensibility, they need to be connected, and that's just those who are able to go to that university to deal with that black middle class context.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with being middle class if you're in service to all classes. But something was pathological about it. That it's just a matter of being obsessed with your status, obsessed with your brand, and forgetting your cause. Oh, that's a market-driven culture. This is a market-driven culture we live in. People are obsessed with getting over, obsessed with the 11th commandment, thou shalt not get caught. See it on Wall Street, market manipulation, insider trading, predatory lending. How many Wall Street criminals went to jail? Not one. See it in the politicians trying to legalize bribery and normalize corruption with big money shaping and molding how they perceive a policy, and poor working people suffering, and they break dance because the stock market is breaking records. But when it comes to the quality of the life of working people and poor people, nobody wants to talk about it in both parties. I'm talking about a wholehearted, mean-spirited Republican Party and a milquetoast neoliberal Democratic Party, both of them tied to corporate elites, both of them tied to imperial policies. How many voices did you hear when 550 Palestinian babies were killed in 50 days? Not a mumbling voice.
Go ahead, brother.
And a Palestinian baby has exactly the same status as a precious Jewish baby. And a Jewish baby has precisely the same status as a precious Palestinian baby.
Yes, sir.
How come? Because we have a leadership that has become so locked into conformity, complicity, and becoming so well adjusted to the status quo. This is a moment where the fire, the love, the truth, and goodness, holy and the beautiful, must become contagious. And it's not a matter of just ideology. We'll see, we've got some differences, of course. A lot of people like to always highlight our differences. I've told the world over and over again that I love Marcus Garvey. I love the Honorable Elijah. I love Minister Lewis Farrakhan. I love this brother here. I love Dr. Khalid. People say, Brother West, how can you love him? He saying so many things about the Jewish brothers and this and that. I say the brother ain't got no monopoly on truth, but I love it. Because I can discern in his heart, mind, and soul and body a deep love of a people who've been taught to hate themselves. In our moral and spiritual criteria and wrestle and teach. I have been taught by this brother. I've been taught by Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir.
I've been taught by Marcus Garvey. I've been taught by Queen Mother Moore.
Yes, sir.
And I still stand in the tradition of Martin King and Donny Hathaway and Curtis Mayfield and Nina Simone. Why? Because we're part of the same tradition of struggle for black freedom. We just have different ways and lenses and analysis at times. But the most important thing is, go in on this, we're willing to live and die what we talk about.
Yes, sir.
That's what I That's what it's all about. Young folks know we're fair, we're concerned about you. Worried about that low quality music you're listening to all the time. Black people, in the special role of music in the shaping of our spirits and souls, just make sure that they have access only to weak music, and you can be rest assured. It's going to be hard to produce a courageous people who straighten their backs up and tell the truth. They have no long enough, my brother. Thank you so much.
Atty. Shabazz, 2 minutes begins.
All right. Giving honor to God,
Man.
I bear witness that regardless to land, regardless to label, regardless to language, I bear witness that there is but one God. I'm most honored to be here at the debate of the decade. I'm humbled to be on the podium with my big brother, one of the greatest scholars of our era or any era, a man that I've studied from for years, I admire greatly, and I'm honored just to be on the stage with Harvard University, Princeton University, and more.
That's right. Go ahead.
Honorable Dr. Cornel. I'm happy, I'm honored here to be with, again, who introduced me, the chairman of the new Black Panther Party, Chairman Hashim Nzinga. Let's give him a hand. He done took my old job. And he's doing well with it.
Yes, sir.
To the moderators here, the esteemed panel of moderators, some of the strongest activists here anywhere to be found in the Black nation. Who wasn't mentioned here, now I've said this, Dr. West is from Harvard University, he's from Princeton University, he's got all the Ivy League credentials and he certainly deserves them. Magna cum laude.
Yes, sir.
I'm just up here out of Howard University saying thank you, Lord. Howard University undergrad, political science, Howard University history major, and law school graduate and attorney at law here and in several jurisdictions. And who wasn't mentioned, Brother Jeremy from Howard Law School, one of our moderators. Brother Jeremy, let's give him a hand. And I must say that whatever I say here today, even before Louis Farrakhan, even before Dr. Khalid Muhammad, I was taught in the halls of the political science department at Howard University by my professors who molded, shaped, and fashioned what I have to say today.
Yes, sir.
Which way under Donald Trump? Which way under President? It's hard to say it because we really don't want to say it. But I can't say just 45 because that's not reality. The reality is that, oh, no good Donald Trump has made his way all the way to the White House. The reality is that the executive branch of government and the White House is occupied now by Donald Trump. And now the question has to be asked, which way under Donald Trump? Speaking primarily to my people, and there are others here, because the world wants to know which way under Donald Trump. I see some of my Muslim family from other countries, rooted in other countries, American citizens, but rooted in other areas. I see them here. But I here want to talk to, first of all, the black man and the black woman. I want to say in this time of fear, in this time of confusion, in this time of anxiety, in this time of worry and concern, it is imperative that we as leaders and advocates come forth and ask the question, which way under Donald Trump? Not an easy question. Many of us and many in our community are in shock. Yeah, they're in shock. You got so comfortable with President Barack Hussein Obama. You got so comfortable looking at the First Lady of the United States, the President's wife, Michelle Obama. You got comfortable watching that on your Channel 4 News at night, watching it on CNN at night. You got comfortable, you got happy, you got love to sleep with a black man in the White House, and now many of us have caught almost cardiac arrest. Many of us are now on the verge of fainting, passing out and falling out because Mr. Obama, he's gone surfing. He's out there, he's done with this. And now that man who you say is that handsome man in the White House, you have to look at old ugly Donald Trump. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
But what I'm going to articulate to you today and tonight, and with the help of Dr. West as we navigate through this debate, is that we don't want to just talk about his physical ugliness, even though it's hard to avoid. We want to go to the ugliness of his policies, the ugliness of his rise, the ugliness of what's behind his rise, and how he came to power, and who he came to power on the wings of, and why he came to power. And I am here to say, to propose my first position, is that Donald Trump comes into office riding a wave of white resentment, a wave of white supremacy, a wave of white backlash against black people, and a wave of white backlash against having a black man in the White House. There's a whole lot of resentment involved. A whole lot of jealousy involved. A whole lot of deep-seated racism that was here before Donald Trump and we'll have to deal with after Donald Trump. Because one thing I want to say before we go any further is I don't expect Donald Trump to be in office any longer than 12 months. But he's brought it up, and I will get into how and why I say he has a term of 12 months or less. He rides in on a wave of white backlash. He rides in now with his chief supporters who carry Confederate flags. They are in the ranks of Donald Trump. His approval rating amongst the Klan, the Ku Klux Klan and white supremacist organization is in the high 90th percentile of elected white supremacist Ku Klux Klan voters. He captured 65% of the uneducated white folks.
Come on.
The white people who are not educated, who I guess they say don't know much, they are overwhelmingly Trump supporters. That seems to fit, well, because Trump don't know much, and neither do you know. He is backed by a racist movement. Some kind of debate upon whether Donald Trump is a racist or not. I say he is. Maybe you say he is, and we'll get into that. But there's no question about it. His followers, his supporters, are white men and white males who feel that their grip on their country is slipping and sliding. They see in us a threat to white supremacy and white domination of America, thus the term, "Make America Great Again." We say, "Make America Great Again," as black people want to know, when? What era are you talking about? Was it the Jim Crow era that America was great? And if it was great for you, was it great for us? Was it the era of lynchings? And lynching the black man and hanging him from the tree? As Bessie Smith said, the trees in the South had a strange fruit with blood dripping at the root. Is that the time we're talking about? What make America great when? coded language, a dog whistle.
Yes, sir.
To the racist forces in America who have now swept into the White House. Trump, O'Bannon, Breitbart, running the White House now. The Breitbart squad, O'Bannon and Gorky, running the White House now. White supremacists, white racists, and what they call the alt-right, now right inside 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Xenophobia, being pushed down our throats. Hate everybody. Hate the Mexican. Hate the brown man. Hate the Muslim from abroad. Hate everybody but the Americans, and then soon they're going to get down to who the real Americans are. Don't you be fooled, black people, about talk about everybody else, because it's coming to your doorstep. It's coming to your house next, and it's all planned by design, and they got it laid out for you. What they have planned for your neighbor is coming to your doorstep next. So I say, as I open up here, we have to call on the ancestors for guidance right now. We must call on the ancestors. I ask you the question, what would beloved Sister Harriet Tubman, what would she say right now about what to do under President Donald Trump? We must call on Sojourner Truth, Mary McLeod Bethune, ask these two queens who are our ancestors, which way under Donald Trump? We have to ask ourselves, if Reverend Nat Turner was here, the most honorable Reverend Nat Turner was here, what would he say about which way under Donald Trump? If the Honorable Bishop Henry McNeil Turner here, the great immigrationist with an E, Bishop Henry McNeil Turner were here, what would he advise us to do under President Donald Trump? If the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who taught us one God, one aim, one destiny, who gives us the red, the black, and the green, if Mr. Garvey was here, what would he advise us? What would he say about which way under Donald Trump? If the most honorable Elijah Muhammad was here on the scene today, what would he advise? If Minister Malcolm X was here on the scene today, Dr. West, what would he advise? If the Honorable Stokely Carmichael, we call Kwame Ture, but I love Stokely Carmichael, if he were here today, which way would he advise? If the Honorable, the most honorable, beloved Dr. Martin Luther King was here today, brothers and sisters, people who are listening, what would Dr. King advise today about which way under Donald Trump? If Huey P. Newton, the great gun-toting defense man and leader of the Black Panther Party were here, what would he advise about which way under Donald Trump? And if Dr. Khalid Muhammad, the great student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, if Dr. Khalid Muhammad was here on this night, thank you, sir, was here on this stage tonight, which way would he advise under Donald Trump? I have to call on the ancestors.
Yes, sir.
And I have to be a mouthpiece for them tonight. And the first thing I want to say is that we can survive. That black people, we can survive. We have survived the worst Holocaust of any people anywhere in the world. The Black Holocaust is the worst Holocaust of all time. 100 times worse than any other Holocaust that's ever existed. We can survive. We've survived Jim Crow. We've survived the lynchings. We've survived the worst of America. So we say to Mr. Trump, come on, Mr. Trump. But we will call on our God and we will survive you. And you will go down before we do. We are God's chosen people. And like the 4 Hebrew boys was burning, and burned in the oven. The 4 Hebrew boys burning in the oven, but there was a God with them in them fiery flames. And the fiery flames, as it looks like right now, Trump is a burnt orange fiery flame. I'm here to tell you that we will survive the flames of Donald Trump, and God will bring us out. And like the dry bones, bring us together as an exceedingly great army. I'm here to talk tonight about which way under Donald Trump. Thank you.
For those wonderful opening statements.
Yes.
So the first topic of debate will be that of economics.
Good evening. Brother Haki, I mean here. Dr. West, thank you, sir. Brother E. Franklin Frazier, he's from Baltimore, I must say, as well as he's a Howard University professor, author of Black Bourgeoisie, and Professor Harold Cruz, author of The Crisis of the Negro Intellect. Both offer critiques of the middle class, institutions, and the academy. Dr. Cruz, in particular, theorized about the work of these organizations that held principles and policies of non-economic liberalism. How does your analysis today differ or synergize with the theories of both of these great intellectuals?
We live at the very end of a neoliberal era. And by neoliberal, what I mean is there's been a massive transfer of wealth from poor and working people to the top 1%. That's right. 25 years ago, the top 1% had 21% of the wealth. Today, 1% of the population has 42% of the wealth. And on a global scale, 8 individuals have wealth equivalent to 1/2 of humanity. That's 8 versus 3.6 billion children of God. So that the neoliberal era that began in 1973 or so, which is about 20 years after the great E. Franklin Frazier wrote that classic Black Bourgeoisie in 1957, we have seen capitalist civilization with monopolies having a disproportionate amount of power in the economy shift from corporations that produce things like American Motors, in which you actually had products, and when workers produced those products, they had some slice of the profits, and therefore their wages went up. We shift now to big banks. It's called the financializing of monopoly capitalism. So in big banks, you don't produce products, you make deals. That's another reason why Trump is a symbol, because he's a deal maker. And so you end up with hedge funds and private equities and a variety of different institutions that have billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, and none of it trickles down to ordinary working and poor people. That's why they can say there's been a recovery since 2008, and why it is in the last week, and why it is since Donald Trump took office, the stock market has been breaking records. 20,000 now get down. And they think that's a recovery. But they don't understand. There's God's children who are catching hell. So that we have to come up with ways in which we get redistribution of wealth downward. Downward. Part of it has to do with the fact that 54 cents of every dollar goes to the military. So we got war priority. When America goes to war, we find the money. We need money for our children's school. When we need jobs with a living wage, when we need decent housing, you can't find the money. When you want a big stadium for your city, they find the money. That's right. But when it comes to quality education for precious children, they can't find it. Why? Because in neoliberal capitalist society, they are catering to the top 1%. That's why Occupy was important. That's why the movement for Black Lives, which is the most important moral and spiritual awakening among young people in this nation across the board, they have that critique of capitalist civilization. And that's why the economy has to be a starting point. And we won't get into businesses and how business can be empowered until later. I know what's going on with you.
Dr. Shabazz, Attorney Shabazz. You've cast yourself as a race man and a Garveyite and a student of the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. In today's society in 2017, with the advent of global shifts, ethnic strife, and multiculturalism, do you still hold fast to every aspect of the economic theories of both of these proponents?
Yes, I do. I want to be clear. I come to hold fast to the economic program of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
I come to hold fast to the economic program of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
Yes, sir.
I come to point out the fact that in 2017 that blacks in America have $1.2 trillion in buying power. And I want to make the contention that our inability to use our economic power, our inability to economically empower ourselves, buy with ourselves, employ ourselves, invest in ourselves, become economically powerful is one reason, that we are being taken advantage of by Trump and his forces right now. I was taught early on that politics without economics is symbol without substance.
Yes, sir.
And that all of the politics, the demonstrations, everything that we do politically is important. But if we don't have the finance and the capital and the economic power to back it, then we are short-circuiting or we're wasting our time. I'm not only here to say that we have gone away, Brother Hakeem, the question is, do we still hold fast to Elijah and Garvey?
Right.
I'm here to argue that we have never fulfilled and obeyed Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we never obeyed the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we disobeyed our prophets. And that's why we are in the condition we are in right now. We are in the condition that we're in right now. As the scriptures say, lying at the foot of the gate of the rich man, begging for some crumbs that come off the rich man's table. Oh, Steve Harvey, I'm embarrassed at you, Steve Harvey. Oh, Jim Brown, tipping up the Trump Towers, my hero, the greatest running back of all time. But you made an error when you ran up the Trump Towers. Jim Brown, Kanye West, you should have went west. What are you doing, Kanye? Kim must have your head twisted in the wrong direction. We asked the question in our presentation, or should we start begging Donald Trump? And I'm here to tell you that begging is not going to do it. I'm here to tell you that like Marcus Garvey, we got to have ships on the high seas like Mr. Garvey. I'm here to say that we must have stores and grocery stores in our community. We can't depend on others to serve us, that we're going to be the losers unless we right now start serving ourselves. The time is right more than ever for black economic power, for doing for self, for buying up land and buying up property and spending with ourselves. This is the heyday. This is the time that even we obey Mr. Garvey and obey Mr. Muhammad and totally concentrate our financial resources and use them for our people, or otherwise we face certain destruction.
Thank you, sir. One minute? Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. I think that the spiritual crisis in Black America is inseparable from our economic crisis. Because we can't even generate the kind of black institutions unless we have black love, black self-respect, and black trust of one another. We already have a number of black institutions out there. We got churches, we've got funeral homes, we got businessmen and women. Y'all didn't hear that? Oh, yeah. Well, we just let that go. You heard, I appreciate that. The question is, how do we learn to trust one another in such a way that we can sustain our institutions, and when we get our institutions, we have leaderships who are servants of the community rather than self-servers who oftentimes recycle the wealth within their own individual capital. That's a spiritual question. That's a moral question. All that that money that our dear brother talked about, the money, that's a lot of money. That's a whole lot. Now, I would argue, though, that even when you do that, you still got to deal with monopoly capitalism. You still got to deal with Wall Street. You still got to deal with the 1% at the top. But even as small business women and men, we can do so much better if we learn to work together. Now, how do we learn to work together? That's a deep spiritual question. And I say that in all honesty because, you know, most of our churches have become accommodationists to the market culture. That's why you have market Christianity, commodified religion, and Chamber of Commerce religion. You're adjusting folk to the market culture rather than trying to be of service to others. This went out too, didn't it? Thank you so much. Did you get this going?
We need to hook Dr. West back up.
Might be some bad.
I'm gonna do it.
I want him to turn that expensive mic back on. We're talking economics here.
That's true. That's
Money.
That's true.
Now hold on, let me get 1 minute here. I learned so much from Dr. West, and I want to say this. I want to say up here, and I want to, as a black, as they say, my political position, like Minister Malcolm X, is black nationalism. And I want to say it's all right to talk about Jesus up in here with me. But I want to say here, when I speak of Jesus, I'm not talking about that portrait of Michelangelo's cousin. I'm talking about that black Jesus with that mental mirror. The Revelation that had like lambs with it. Feet like fine grass, birds in the Yahshua, or Jesus in the New Testament, is found taking a loaf of bread and spreading it amongst the multitudes. And what I'm here to say is that I do not like living in a society where one person can run the football and make $20 million a year, but a teacher who is teaching our babies and make millions with those that are caring for the disabled, the senior citizens, and those that need our help can barely get by. This world has got to come down. We got to do a movement to bring it down.
That's right.
Expensive mic.
Watch it now.
No, I lost a couple of seconds in the beginning. Praise God.
Okay. Hope you can hear me. This question follows up with the economics that we were discussing. Oftentimes, there is a subset of our community who believes that in order to really be for the people, you must struggle financially. Those who make top dollar are often referred to as Uncle Toms or sellouts. Further, many of our people were never taught financial education or literacy and thus don't understand how to manage money. So question for both of you, how important is financial literacy in our movement generally? And do you have to be poor in order to advance the liberation for our people?
Is that for me, no brother?
Attorney Shabazz, you go first, 3 minutes.
Then I can cover it. That's wonderful.
Really, the question is you two well-paid professors, is Dr. West, who is an Ivy League professor, I don't know what his salary is, but I'm sure it's nice.
Compared to my bills, oh, that's another thing.
That's an important question. And the question is Mr. Shabazz, with your salary, and I ain't poor, okay? The question is, are you two well-suited, seeming to be well-placed individuals, how can you be authentically for this cause? And if you are authentically for this cause, what advice would you give to others? I would say from personal experience that only Dr. West and I'll speak for myself, but I want to speak for him also. I think that he represents a great selflessness and a great example to the learned amongst our people. And those that get degrees and get placed in high places that haven't forgot about their people.
Yes, sir.
That's the kind of man he is. That's why I admire him.
Yes, sir.
He easily could have turned his nose up at us. He easily could have gone on to other places where he wouldn't receive criticism for what he's doing, but his principles and his morals bear witness to who he is, and therefore what he makes has nothing negative to do with it. That's true. That's what I observe of him. Now myself, everybody who knows me knows that I'm damn near a fool in love with black people. I mean, if I get $1, if I get 100, if I get 1,000, if I get 100,000, how much of it, sir, will I give up to the Black Panther Party?
Hot 92%.
How much of it will I give up to you and all of these cities that you may have seen me struggling in?
Shabazz, 1 minute.
I thank you. I give up everything I have almost in my being, almost to the point that it don't even make sense, to help black people, to help build a movement, to help fight racism, to help fight police brutality. I literally sometimes give it all up, not even just financial, but my whole status. Oh, people like old Dershowitz up at Howard University and others sit down with their pens and they write letters on me to the Bar Association trying to take my license. They attack me. I've been, yeah, they have. I go into airports at other times in the airport. Transportation Security Administration, all on my neck. FBI sometimes, all on my neck. Justice Department, all on my neck. Threatening all of my money. Nevertheless, I'm 100% dedicated to the cause, still dedicated to the cause. So it's not the money. It's not the money. It's the character and the principle of the person that has it. And I'm here to say that if you got character and you got some smarts and you stand up, you'll get some money.
You have 3 minutes.
No, brother spoke with great wisdom. He did, no doubt about it. Easier for a rich man to eye the needle than for a camel to get through. And the reason I think I get it right, but y'all got the meaning.
Yes, sir.
That it is true that in our society, our conception of the self is one in which if we can have more possessions and commodities, maybe somehow that can hide and conceal our suffering and wounds and bruises and scars. But only a certain kind of spirituality can speak to your identity that allows you to have integrity, honesty, decency, and courage, no matter how much money you do have. But if you view life as a gold rush, you will end up worshiping the golden calf. And that's the dominant orientation of our society. Joyless quest for pleasure with big cash. But the challenge is the deed. Life is about not producing the foliage that people see, but the fruits that you bear in the deeds that you do. So you can be a Harry Belafonte and be a multi-millionaire, but in his deeds, you see the fruit. Or you can be very rich, athlete, entertainer, worth $400 million, and you're still wrestling with psychic breakdown and spiritual vacuity and moral underdevelopment.
Come on.
And this is nothing original. We learned this from grandmama and granddad. Because they looked America in the face from the vantage point of being enslaved in Jim Crow. And what did they do? They gave America some of the most profound expressions of how to love. Swing low, sweet chariot. Strange fruit.
Yes, sir.
To be young, gifted, and black. I'm talking about Nina and Doc. Sister Simone and brother. Hathaway. That's the richness that comes from integrity, honesty, decency, telling the truth, wrestling with how you're going to live your life, not measured by what kinds of money you have. Now, on the other hand, I know that poverty itself will never become a mass movement. There will always be religious folk who make vows of poverty. I respect that. That ain't me, but I respect that. But at the same time, you got to be ready to be lied on, misunderstood, misconstrued, character assassination, and maybe ultimately actual assassination. And it's a beautiful thing
Dr. West.
to die for folk, but you give your life back to God. God gave you that life so you can give it.
We must have a plan to power. Right? And our path to power has to begin in our cities. So I want to ask you, where does our power really lie? Does it lie in the cities, the state, and the federal government? And if it lies in the cities, we must take them. And we have two men who are great leaders. We have Frederick Douglass here, and we have Shabazz right here. I am asking you, where does the revolution begin? 2017.
Who you ask? First. Who was your question first?
First,
Yes, sir.
I give it to Dr. Cornel West. Chance to clean up, young fella.
Appreciate that question. Did he say myself?
Or you not?
No, did he say, did you say?
You, elder.
Well, yes, me. I think right now, in a neo-fascist era, you have to have truth tellers. Brother Donald Trump is a gangster in character.
Hello.
Grabbing women's private parts, that's gangster. Taking oil for Iraq if he wants to, that's gangster. He's a neo-fascist in content. So what we have to do is, first on a national level, there's got to be an anti-fascist, multiracial coalition to push back his disregard for rule of law, which has been systematic for 400 years for black people, but it's intensified. On a local level, we've got to have grassroots activism, and we have to have elected officials who are not in the pockets of the big corporations and big banks.
Come on.
They have to be servants of the people. So we have to have a localism that's offensive, and we have to have a multiracial coalition against fascists in White House and other places that is defensive.
Teach.
That to me is the most important thing right now. In addition, we got our precious young folk and that marvelous new militancy that's happening among them. We don't know exactly what form because they created, they innovated. And they're going to be highly suspicious of politics, and politics didn't deliver for them. They had a black president, they had a black attorney general, they had a black homeland security, and they still got shot down by the police. And now one policeman went to jail because of federal pressure.
Good point.
Keep sweating moment, something just ain't right. So our young people look at politics and say, these politicians don't deliver. We got a black president and we still get shot. I say, well, don't give up. Organize on the local level. Bring power to pressure to bear on the local level. But they still have to be open to a multiracial coalition. Why? Because if fascism becomes pervasive across the board, not just in relation to indigenous people, not just in relation to black poor people, but across the board, then most of the folk in this room will be dead or incarcerated. People say, oh, Brother West, that never happened in America. Get off the crack pipe. Get off the crack pipe. Fascism happens when fellow citizens no longer have the courage and the vision to push it back. And America can go fascist like any other nation across the board. We already know because white supremacist slavery and American terrorism and Jim Crow Sr. and Jim Crow Jr. have shown the fascist face of America already in the past. But when it spills over across the board, then we discover, Lord, something ain't right. I know when my dear brother Barack Obama said America's a magical place, I told him, you're going to have a Christopher Columbus experience. You're going to discover America. Ain't nothing magical about America. You could be a first-generation voluntary immigrant and think something's magical, but when you come from an enslaved Jim Crow people, you know ain't nothing magical about America. If we don't fight for freedom, our backs will be crushed.
Dr. West, on.
Yes, absolutely.
Even in the presidential debate, they give him a warning to let the man go. Don't just go, man. Huh? Whose mic is fault? Give him just a little. We understand we got time constraints, but give him a little, really little. Let me say this here before they get on me. Just because they from Black Lawyers for Justice don't mean they cut me any breaks here. Fascism is here. The threat of fascism is real. Fascism meaning an authoritarian government. Trump aspires to be authoritarian. He aspires to have total control. He doesn't like to share power with anyone. And Trump believes in crushing his enemies. Donald Trump does not believe in the separation of powers. He doesn't agree with Marbury versus Madison.
Sure doesn't.
Donald Trump does not respect the courts of the United States of America. If a judge rules against Donald Trump, immediately this fool goes on Twitter. Probably had a cocktail late at night, up here tweeting. As the President of the United States, aren't you embarrassed? Yes. What am I saying as I get to your question, brother? We're going to explore that later. But he's a real fascist. He wants to be a fascist. He wants to shut down the press. He wants to shut down the media. He wants to shut down the courts. He had personally attacked judges, calls them so-called judges, even when the fool got a case pending. And you wonder why you lose the case, fool. Donald Trump is a fool. And you know he's a fool. But if he's crazy like a fox. What am I saying here today? Dear brother, I'm going to explore this question as we go into this debate.
That's time.
Let me finish my sentence. But I'm saying, first, sir, to get to this question of where our movement must be headed, I will say that as black people, we must understand that we must embrace, we must do what Dr. Khalid Muhammad wanted us to do, which is resist to exist. And we have to be a part of the resistance against fascism and authoritarianism and resistance against Trump. And I get to the details later when I get a chance.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm looking here with two men, both who represent two sides of the black liberation struggle. One, a nationalist, the other, an integrationist. We witnessed the horrific creation of AFRICOM under a white Republican president, and then we witnessed its horrific growth under a black Democratic president. What do you two gentlemen, or you two brothers in the struggle, feel that a Trump presidency means to the Caribbean and Africa and the diaspora, and how should people of African descent across the world deal with it? I would like to start with you, Attorney Shabazz. 3 minutes.
I believe, thank you so much. I believe that Donald Trump is a wannabe colonialist. I believe that Donald Trump has all the danger signs of a serious imperialist. I believe that Donald Trump, as president and head of the Army, as head of the Navy, as head of the Armed Forces of America, represents a danger to the peoples of the planet Earth, a danger to Africa, a danger to the Middle East. He's a danger to everybody on the 196,940,000 square miles of the planet. I believe that whatever we've seen in the past, according to his statements, Mr. Trump has said that we should have took the oil in Iraq. He has taken us back now to the 1800 ages of imperialism, where he believes the U.S. military should just go gangster and take what it wants. And Mr. Trump, psychologically and politically, bears all the signs of a serious gangster.
Yes, sir.
And so my contention is that we must embrace Pan-Africanism.
Right.
We must build, Pan-Africanism. It's the time now to build a worldwide Pan-African movement. It is time now for black organizations, black activists, and blacks in the Caribbean and Africa and America to drop the borders.
That's right.
I always tell my people, you're not a minority. You're not a minority of 15% in America. You outnumber white people on the face of the planet Earth 11 or 12 to 1. You are a 1 billion strong black Pan-African superpower. If you would wake up to who you are not a minority. You shouldn't be afraid in this hour. You should understand where our power really lies. We are 1 billion Pan-African black superpower on the face of the planet Earth. If we would end our divisions, end our jealousy of each other, end our dysfunction with each other, end our hatred of each other, end our inability to work with each other, end the war inside the black community, the Muslims against the Christians, against the East Coast, against the West Coast. As black people today, we can defeat Donald Trump, but we must have unity and we must drop the divisions all over the planet Earth.
That's right.
Now, I want to just say briefly, Dr. West, although you are an integrationist and you are a disciple of Dr. King, I've heard you and Attorney Shabazz over the years speak very highly of the necessity of blacks in the diaspora working together. So that was the reason why I asked this question. And many people may think because you're a nationalist that you don't believe in helping the other, having a Pan-Africanist mentality. So I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, indeed. It's true. I would never describe myself as an integrationist because I'm first and foremost a freedom fighter who is focused on those transformed regions of the earth. And it means then that I'm first and foremost, as a Christian, an internationalist. You see, I'm not a flag waver, I'm a cross bearer. I choose to wear the cross. And every flag is under that cross. And that cross signifies unarmed truth and unconditional love. All human beings made in the image of God. So in that sense, integration is this kind of perception of within the United States, we got to get blacks and whites and how you're going to relate. But on that global scale, so that when I look at America, I see a number of things. But the first thing I see is a huge American empire that dropped 26,172 bombs on 7 Muslim countries last year. No talk about that in the press.
No.
Since 2001, we killed over 1 million Muslims. Every Muslim life is as precious as every non-Muslim life.
That's right.
And we wonder why ISIS and Al-Qaeda is upset about us. Can you imagine what would happen in America if 500,000 white brothers and sisters were killed within 9 years?
Go ahead.
The Ku Klux Klan would be a mass movement. And that's fascist. The Klan is fascist. ISIS is fascist. But it's a response to the value of a Muslim life. We act as if a Muslim life has no value. Only when an American is killed do we get concerned.
Yeah, that's right.
kill over 255 babies in Yemen and Pakistan and Afghanistan. You kill one American, you have a press conference and financial compensation for the family. See how narrow and truncated and spiritually empty that is? And if we're coming from a black people, we know what it is not to have our life to have the same value. So the question becomes that in Trump now, you get militarism, pounding, war pounding against China and possibly others, Iran. But that's the beginning of the answer to that question. Appreciate it. That's a very, we might have to be able to kind of weave it back so that we can touch some of the aspects of the question that we couldn't get to. Is that all right? We can be a little jazz-like? Improvisation.
I answer first. My counter.
Go ahead, 1 minute counter.
I'm on reserve time. I just reserve time for the next set of questions.
That's fair enough, brother. We will move on. Mr. Shabazz. The next question is on gentrification. I'm going to ask the question. Please listen to the full call of the question before you answer. The effects of the slave trade left black slaves with the whips and the bruises on their backs from the brutality of their slave masters. Land passed to them from their guilty slave masters and forced to repent for their sins. Black people, of course, was passed land during this process to their descendants for that land to pass from generation to generation. Yet, what was once Chocolate City in D.C. is now the North Pole. And the land developers are profiting over the uprooting of millions of black people and replacing them with the white counterparts sent into the inner city to take loaner jobs given by whites back from the black man. And get rich off and extort the fruits of black slave labor that built this country. Mr. Shabazz, you pass up and down and give thousands of dollars to local community businesses to help black people. You even stand on the corners to talk about marching and voicing your plans to interrupt commercial building developers from building. But isn't it true that you failed to demonstrate a scheme or a direct strategy under Trump of shifting capital from the hands of the greedy white supremacists under Trump and into the hands of African Americans in this country? Isn't it also true you fall short of your teachings on how to become a millionaire overnight? Black people need capital, Mr. Shabazz. With capital and knowledge is black power. The power to buy out our competitors, the power to bail out our black people from home foreclosures, cases of eminent domain and adverse possession. And the power to negotiate capital interests with Africa, our land of rich resources. Mr. West, you know about the ugly manifestation of gentrification and the need for control and power in this country. But isn't it true that you also failed to come up with your own strategic framework for African Americans in this country to take control of our property? Instead, sir, you paint the picture of arbitrariness in regards to cultural power in terms of white supremacy, which has become what you call the marvelous new militancy. Mr. Shabazz, you can answer yours first.
You couldn't expect to have a debate without some tough questions.
That's right.
But I want to say right off the gate that I'm not responsible at all for gentrification. I'm not responsible at all for gentrification. I'm one of the most consistent advocates against gentrification, and I have a personal portfolio that bears witness to the strategic plan against gentrification. And I work on a daily basis and organize in my community to help others to fight this menace called gentrification. Now let's get into it, because I got some facts to combat what you said. Now let's talk about the problem. I'm one of the earliest in this city, and others who know me, for 20 years, back to 1995, I have been preaching about the destruction of Chocolate City and the oncoming threat of gentrification. I have organized some of the largest forums, information sessions, sessions where you can find out how to purchase housing, real estate, credit. I'm always driving and striving to try to wake up our people on this important subject matter of gentrification. Washington, D.C., our people are losing almost everything. In Atlanta, they're losing almost everything. Right here in the inner cities of America under President Donald Trump, we're losing power, and in this attack or this fight against gentrification, if we can build a defense line and fight back and gain control of the land, control of the property, control of the economy, that is a base to defend against the wickedness of Mr. Trump. Now I want to say this on a personal note. Yes, I think I've led by example. I have houses in the black community. I refuse to sell out for the dollar. I maintain the property I have in the black community. The areas where I have or own or control property in the black community, I have taken neighborhoods that were run down and desolate, and that other predators were trying to come in and buy. I wouldn't sell, but I redeveloped it and made it a haven for our own.
Come on.
Right here, every week in our movement for black power in Washington, D.C., we're doing what? We're not letting cranes go up in the black community without calling attention to it, demonstrating against it, and we're making plans to stop these cranes inside Washington, D.C.
Warning, 30 seconds.
Let me say this. So all that I do personally is to fight against gentrification. Everything that I organize for and desire to organize for would be to fight this menace. And I'm here to tell you that all that I have for the future will be to try to protect the little that we have left here in Washington, D.C. I mean, Chocolate City is gone. It's Milk Chocolate City, ain't it? But it's not a joke. But it's not a joke. It's a serious problem, and it must be fought, and you have my commitment, my continuing commitment to fight the evils of gentrification.
Yes, sir.
Question is now from Mr. Cornel West.
I appreciate that tough question. And I don't think I can answer the second part in terms of having a concrete strategy, other than just putting the body on the line, fighting to make sure that gentrification does not become overly successful. Let's be clear on what I understand it to be. Gentrification is not just a land grab, it's a power grab. The whole history of America, gentrification vis-a-vis indigenous people. Taking their land, power, pushing the folk out. But we got to keep in mind they were Buffalo soldiers, though, who were part of that American imperial expansion. So the issue of gentrification is one of both race but also class. Just as there's been black mayors who have facilitated the gentrification. There's been black city council members who facilitated gentrification. There have been those who have been in power positions who have accommodated themselves. Now, it's not a question of them being successful. All we ask for is your best. Try, fight. Sometimes you try and fight and you lose. That's all you can do. But you got to try and fight. You got to love the people enough to tell them what's going on. And respect them enough to tell them what's going on. But these big money folk bring in our black elites in such a way that the elites want to act as if something is going on, but what's happening is power grab, land grab, and they are benefiting because they're the public face. So the question becomes then, well, how do we stop it? Well, I just found out something today, namely this Recovery Act.
Come on.
Okay, if we don't have gentrification, then there ought to be some means by which a major portion of the monies that you make are filtered back into the communities, especially those communities that have been disproportionately impacted and going all the way back to slavery. It's not just prison, but it's past as well. So you have a counter strategy, but I don't know of any concrete strategy. I don't know any places where there's been wholesale success against capitalist logics in urban spaces in which land grab and power grab do not push out the vulnerable.
Thank you, brother.
All right, I too want to endorse the District of Columbia Recovery Act
Yes, sir.
for the living descendants of American slaves. I ain't got but a minute. Which is equivalent to a reparations referendum, a vote directly by the citizens of the District of Columbia, bypassing the city council, bypassing the mayor to put it directly into law.
Yes.
Not only this, since we want to talk about concrete strategy, we are drafting also to come on the ballot next year in this city an anti-gentrification referendum. Anti-gentrification referendum, where the citizens will go to the ballot and vote to stop all development till further notice. Just like Trump wanted to put his ban in on travel ban till we get it straightened out. Well, we are going to put a referendum on the ballot that brings a moratorium to all development until we can get this thing straightened out. All right? Let me ask you this. If such a measure is put on the ballot in this city or your city, how many of you would back that referendum? A referendum is a direct petition or direct putting on the ballot and making into law what that referendum stands for, overriding the city council and the mayor. The citizens go directly to the ballot and vote for what they want in the law. It's time that we start using referendum power to stop the destruction in our cities.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Rice.
Good evening to you both. This question comes from the Black nationalists of the Howard University School of Law. Many minorities benefited from the 1960s civil rights movement, but have consciously chosen not to advocate for the rights of black people in today's society. Should black people, knowing this fact, continue to support the agendas of other minority groups? Please give 2 reasons to back up your response. I would like if Dr. Cornel was to start.
I appreciate that, and I send my love and respect back to the Black nationalist group there at the law school. I think it is disappointing when you sacrifice based on principle for others and they refuse to do that for you. But in my own life, I have never tried to do the right thing just to get a personal benefit. I find great joy in trying to do something that's right and moral and just regardless of what the consequences are. And I think that's very important. Because if in fact it becomes simply a quid pro quo, if we did something for you, then you ought to do something for us, then it becomes more and more just a matter of self-interest. And the best of the Black freedom movement has never been simply about self-interest. It's been about freedom. It's been about integrity. It's been about being a certain kind of moral and spiritual person. And sometimes it's better to lose momentarily with your dignity as opposed to winning and just be another gangster to make the gallery of gangsters more colorful. So that's a spiritual issue. But on the other hand, we got to put pressure to bear. So for example, when we make sacrifices for our precious brown brothers and sisters regarding undocumented immigrants, then we want to see them in our movement too. No doubt about it. But we still going to support. Same is true with some of the Muslims or whatever it is. I'm talking about Muslims, especially from the Middle East and other places. You see, they might be reluctant. Don't want to spend too much time with black folk. We say, no, we standing with you because that's how we were raised. That's what we were taught, to be moral and spiritual freedom fighters. That includes everybody. And if you don't come our way, it shows that something is lacking in you spiritually, but we support you because it's the right thing to do.
Well, that name, Black Nationalist of Howard Law School, that just gives me flashbacks of my career at Howard Law. Let me say this. Everybody has come up off of the black struggle. And many have used the laws that we fought for and that Dr. King fought, took water hoses, and many died for. And they have come up off these rights and passed us on by and don't even look back. It could be fairly stated that the new advocacy for gay rights and LGBT rights, they benefit from the civil rights movement. So they've gone on and taken it as they own and passed us on by. Many here now are here because under Donald Trump, I gotta be frank with you, on Donald Trump you get to see how the white man is. And now they starting to see how we've been feeling all along. And now they're coming over here with us. Coming over here with us. And guess what? Because we are the people of God, we embrace you. Black lives needed to matter. Where were you? At the time you said and gave us a slight eye. You claimed that there was something wrong with us, that we weren't either working hard enough, or we was ungrateful, or we were complaining too much, because others, all my brothers and sisters, some from the Middle East, some were brown brothers and sisters, wherever they are from, whatever other group is, have tried to say that it was somehow our fault, and they had a reason for not standing with us, and for many years, recently, through our struggles, we have stood by ourselves. I want to say this. We're a merciful people. But there's a time limit on everything. What I want to say here is, my Muslim brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum. I want to say that now you are getting in touch with the white man and the white people we've known about all these years. I want to say that despite what has happened, we need an alliance of all the oppressed. The only way we're going to win the war against white supremacy is to have a universal alliance of the oppressed against a common oppressor. But I do want to say that you must be in this for the long run. Many of my sisters and brothers, they say, well, the immigrant struggle ain't my struggle. What's going on with the Mexicans coming across the border? Matter of fact, keep them across the border. They're trying to take my job. I happen to disagree with them because I say the attack on the brown man, the attack on the Mexican, the attack on the Muslim, the attack on the Arab is a sign of the total attack that's coming down on black people. What you see at your neighbor's door will come to your own in just a short while. So I say to all of the others who are fighting, who are now facing the discrimination under Mr. Trump, I say I give you a limited period of time. Come on, and let's unite to overthrow Mr. Trump. See, I want that question to come. How we going to overthrow Trump? Good teacher, good teacher. Don't get me arrested up in here. We must have a united front of the oppressed. We must have a united front of the oppressed, and it must be an authentic alliance where we can trust each other and count on each other in the good times and bad.
All right.
Thank you. All right. So the next question is we want to change topics a bit and go into the law. In particular, the black on black crime narrative. Last month, Donald Trump tweeted, quote, "If Chicago doesn't fix the horrible carnage going on, 228 shootings in 2017, with 42 killings, I will send the feds in," end quote. And according to a report by WGN, representatives of the Justice Department will visit Chicago this week. In 2015, there were 344 homicides in Baltimore, with the majority of the victims being black men. Out of 40 million black people, only 2,664, or less than 0.1% of the people were murdered. In comparison, the CDC and Cancer.org reports that blacks are more likely to die from heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. So my question to both of you is, Is the media coverage and propaganda of black-on-black crime just a farce and a tool used to usher in a police state? And also, though we as a people have a greater chance of dying from cancer and diabetes than a bullet, what are the tangible things that we can do to address violence in our communities? Dr. West?
Each time you hear those facts and realities, it's just chilling. It shows what little regard the elites in this society have for poor black people. And there should have been a long time ago a major revival among the black middle class to reunite and reconnect with poor and working poor people. But so many black middle class persons have become not just professionalized, but niggerized. And it's a dangerous thing to have a niggerized professional class. Because they're smart, they got education, they got some resources and money, but they're still scared and intimidated. And they're full of fear if you threaten their career. Which means they're not free. They're not free. They're not willing to tell the truth about what's going on. They're not willing to take a risk. They're not willing to cut against the grain. They are controlled by the protocol of their profession so they can go up, but they're not lifting as they climb, in the language of Dorothy Irene Hyde. Now what does that mean? That means then that somehow we've got to create a context in which more of the black middle class can spiritually and morally come home and be freed up to come to terms with the hell and high water that our precious black poor folk are dealing with. Anytime you get people who are poor, with weak families, and feeble communities, with access to guns and drugs, you're going to have high killings. But keep in mind that is gangster. Killing innocent people, that's gangster. I don't care what color you are.
Right.
But that gangsterization is just a mirror of the larger gangsterization taking place in the society.
That's right.
When you got all this money taken away from poor working people for the well-to-do, when you got the criminality on Wall Street and nobody goes to jail, when you got scandals shot through your political class, but hardly any are accountable, that's gangster. It really is. So it's a mirror, but it's raw and it's coarse with the guns and the drugs being available. We know how to deal with inner city poverty. Eliminate poverty, high quality education, high quality schools, make sure that the communities are safe, and then hope that the families can somehow muster some falling in love in order to take care of their kids in the way in which they are. But many would if they had some economic resources to do so.
Right.
So it's a question of priority.
Mr. Shabazz, 1 second. Before you get started, I just wanted to reiterate the question, because you answered the latter part, but the first part. Is the media coverage and propaganda?
Oh, yeah, I did understand. But I know he's going to hit it, though. I know he's going to hit it. He's going to hit it for me.
Mr. Shabazz, 3 minutes.
It's hard for me to agree with Mr. Trump on hardly anything. But one thing I do have to say that one small thing I do agree with him on. When he talked about fake news. And I almost identified with what he said one time when he just he really punched CNN at the news conference. I kind of like that. Because these news media is not our friend either. And the press has not been fair with us. The press does not report accurately what's going on in the black community. The liberal press has an angle, and that liberal press angle, brother, is your enemy and mine, and always has been.
Come on.
So I want to say yes, the press does lie, the press does spin, the press tries to make it the way they want it to be. But I do want to say that violence is a problem. I want to say that Mr. Trump says he lied. He said the murder rate is worse than in 47 years. when it was lied, and according to the fact check, Trump lies 70% of the time he opens up his mouth. He's a liar. Trump is a what? Liar. If you believe Trump lies on a regular and consistent basis, raise your hand. Okay, so he said that the murder rate is higher than in 47 years. But the fact is that 8.5 persons per 100,000 were being murdered in the year 1990, and that was down to 4.5 persons per 100,000 in 2013 to 14. Everybody knows in the District of Columbia, although the murder rate is unacceptable, it's way down. It's unacceptable, but it's way down. But Trump has his reason for hyping it, and he knows how to use Twitter and hype it in the media because he has an ulterior motive to bring the National Guard and the feds into Chicago so he can show up Obama. All right? Now here's the solution to this. We know that even if it's being manipulated, that the violence is a problem that belongs to us. And the problem of violence belongs to us and black women. I'm here to tell you in specific that the problem with violence amongst the youth in our community, it rests at the foot of the black man. And until this black man, and that black man, and that black man, and that black man, and all of us put our minds together that we will go out here and take control of our communities and control of the youth that are terrorizing our community, then we are going to continue to be a victim of this process. So my call here tonight is to the black man under Donald Trump. Where's the man that the black woman can rely on? Where's the man to take control of our families? Where's the man? Where's the man?
Thank you for taking us to church. Just as a follow-up to this, we tackled the black on black crime narrative, and I want to turn attention a little bit to the police brutality aspect. According to the Huffington Post, last year, police officers killed at least 250 black people. 34% were black males, yet only made up 6% of the entire population. We've seen the video of the sister being punched in the face by the cop who was straddled on top of her in California. A child being swung around and handcuffed at a swimming pool party in Texas. As of September of 2016, New Yorkers were stopped by the cops 10,171 times. 76% of the time they were innocent. 54% of the time it was a black man or woman. Dr. West, is this a human rights issue? And how likely is the United Nations to sanction America?
June 27, 1964, Senator Martin Luther King Jr. asking him to join him to go to the United Nations to hold the United States accountable for violating the human rights of black people. Martin Luther King Jr. said, yes, I'd love to go with your mom. It would have been a very different history if they had a chance to work together precisely on this issue. They agreed. And this is a few months after Brother Malcolm had lastly honorable Muhammad before. For them to come together. There's no doubt it's a violation of human rights. But it ought to be a question of national security and therefore high priority in this country. But it remains a marginal issue. And only when we hit the streets, the corporate press come running. We've been in the streets together on many occasions, both in Cleveland and Ferguson and other places. Some of us went to jail for stop and frisk on the Mayor Bloomberg. You had 4.5 million young folk who were stopped and frisked within 9 years. All Dix, Revolutionary Communist Party, and other folk came together. We all went to jail, actually. The same principle, the violation of human rights. Absolutely. Thank God for progressive lawyers like yourself and others highlighting this kind of issue. The question becomes, how do you keep the police accountable, and how do you shatter the culture of silence within the police department that don't allow them to tell the truth about what some of their fellow policemen are doing and have done? And that's why it's so very difficult to get a policeman to actually go to jail. The You come up with all these investigations. We don't need no more investigations. We know. We come back after 9 months, 1,000 pages. The police department is racist. You don't say. We were born that night, but not last night. We want police to have a fair trial and go to jail. And once you start sending them to jail, they get a shift in their culture and their behavior. Because when you're killing that many folk, and of course this is true across the board of citizens, as you know, what is it, about 1,000 citizens across the board? Absolutely. But that culture can be shattered. But it rarely, rarely happens. And that's why, what is the fraternal, what's the name of police? And what is it?
Fraternal order of police.
The fraternal order of police and others, always organizing, tight, bringing pressure to bear on these kind of issues, do not serve us with power.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Shabazz, 3 minutes.
To those who are listening, we can expect in this coming year or years under Mr. Trump, we can expect all-out war with the police departments of America. We should expect and can expect all-out war. We can expect an increase in police killings, an increase in police beatings. We can expect to see more videos going viral than ever before because Trump is the policeman. He has campaigned on law and order. He's talking to you, black man. He's talking to you, Black Lives Matter. So Trump has the mentality that he is giving the signals to the police. When he has a big rally and he attacks his critics by force and has them thrown out by force and his followers to punch those who are at the rally, he's sending a signal to those who are following him, it's okay to go at these Negroes. He's telling them that he will back them. Down here in South Carolina, they're rumoring that they wanted the charges dropped against the cop who shot and killed Walter Scott, Slater. That the Justice Department was considering not re-prosecuting him after we knew he should have been found guilty. Hell, we can't find courts that will find police officers guilty. Rarely, if ever, do they go to jail, but they are killing all the time. We can expect it to get worse. More beatings, more excessive force. It's already right now a shaky situation. Attorneys will know. In the federal court system, the judges are sometimes friendly depending on the jurisdiction, or the judges are hostile to claims against the police. The law is already shaped against us. You have rules called qualified immunity, rules called objective reasonableness that give all the advantages to the police officer in an encounter with what is perceived to be an inherently dangerous black man or suspect. So right now, I can't give you a fancy prescription. I have to tell it like it is. I'm expecting more beatings, more killings, more shootings by the police. I'm expecting a harder time in court. But I'm here to tell you that we got to fight regardless. The lawyers have to fight. The lawyers have to fight with all we got. The new Black Panther Party, the Black Panthers, all of these black militants running around. We need an army to defend ourselves. We need the new Black Panther Party in the streets. We need police patrols like Huey P. Newton had police patrols in the streets of America. We need the Nation of Islam in the streets of America to help us to deal with police brutality. I'm here to tell you that we get into it further. We need a total war strategy because war is going to be declared on us.
Thank you both. That concludes the first half of our program. If we can advise the audience to...
I wouldn't break, just keep it right. Keep it going.
So...
Sorry about that, I had to take over sometimes.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have 2 selections for the audience. That is going to be the national anthem presented, which we need to hear. Brother Shabazz, which will be presented by Crystal Collins. Crystal Collins.
Testing.
Lift every voice and sing.
I'm on your feet.
Ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the darkness has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Okay. For the second half, we're going to talk about women and the role of women in the Black community. We're going to start off with that. Okay, pardon me. Dr. West, this is for you. You have advocated against all forms of misogyny. Misogyny is the contempt or hatred of women, and patriarchy, a system in which men hold primary power and dominate leadership. In many African systems, both before and after European and Arab invasion, there was a high respect for the woman, and women held positions of leadership, including in the military. My question is, do you believe, under the doctrines of Christianity and Islam, it is truly possible to rid society of misogyny and patriarchy when many of our people refer and view their deity and higher power in the masculine term as a he? Why or why not?
I think that my own particular theology, if you will, is God as spirit that connects to a love that transforms us so that we learn how to die in order to learn how to live. And part of the charge in the New Testament, or in Greek, Christians must learn how to die daily. And what it means to die daily in order to be reborn is to have that love so thoroughly saturating who you are that any hatred of women, of others, and I would include my gay brothers, my lesbian sisters, any hatred of a person needs to be killed in order to empower us to become more loving, more compassionate, more empathetic. So that misogyny, hatred of women, a species of spiritual cowardice. Patriarchy, like any other dominating system, to be really human is to have security from domination. It could be capitalist domination, it could be patriarchal domination, it could be white supremacist domination, it could be homophobic domination, it could be all these different, to be a free, loving human being to be able to flower and flourish. And there's no doubt, of course, women are the vast majority of mankind, the species itself. And there's no doubt that the black freedom struggle is unintelligible without the Atty Wells and the Harriet Tubman.
Yes, sir.
And the Tony Martin. And the Sarah Vaughan. Women freedom fighters love more. But we got a long way to go because we brothers sometimes have such insecure egos.
All right, and I do want to say that on my list here, high, for my record, that the building of a mass movement is on my list. I want to get to it tonight. Yeah. The building of a mass movement and the building of an independent political party for our people is on my list tonight. I want to be sure when the critics of this debate come out and let you know that that's on my list of what I want to talk about. I'm a political organizer.
Yes, sir.
Now, on the question of the misogyny, the deity, and the reality of the relations between our people and how we treat our women. There's no man here, anywhere in this room that can't say at some point in time they have engaged in some form of misogyny or some form of inappropriateness of our women. We must admit that, we must confess that, and we must apologize for that.
Yes, sir.
All right? That's real. You accept that apology on our behalf. And I want to say this, for those that really know African spirituality, you will not be stuck on just a God that is described as he.
Yes, sir.
Because we know that in the truest of African spirituality, which predates both the Bible and the Quran, we have the duality. We have the duality of the God and the goddess.
Come on.
And we have the expression of divinity, which has the woman in her proper place, because without the woman, it ain't no creation. There is no reality without the black woman who is divine. So we are taught early on about Mayat, about the goddess Mayat, who teaches us the values, the virtues of the principles that all life should be based on, and also Mayat, which means truth, justice, harmony, balance, order, righteousness, and reciprocity, but is represented by a black woman on the hieroglyphics or the medunetter of the walls of the pyramid of Kemet. Before there was a Bible, an Old Testament, a New Testament, before there was a Holy Quran, there was African spirituality that held the woman in high regard as a goddess and as a symbol of the very principles that we live life upon. So only in Western religion, Western life, Western reality have we become macho male supremacists. But I want to say this in my few seconds. The reason why I know the value of a black woman is not just from Africa, not just from a theory. The reason why I know that the black woman is capable of leading is I can point to my mother.
Come on!
My mother,
yes, sir,
has taught me how strong, capable, competent, and awesome of a leader a person can be. That's come from my mother. And I work with other black women. I work with them in the field of human services. I work with them in the law office. I can run them for days and days. The black woman is marginalized. She should be given more props for what she is doing for us right now. I'm surrounded. Every day, I know it's real talk. I'm surrounded by black women that are capable and competent every day. I'm trying to get the black man to catch up.
Thank you, Dr. Shabazz.
You wanted them women, sister.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, yes, regarding, we often hear so many times by those on the right, Bill O'Reilly in particular, who oftentimes mention, quote, a breakdown of the black family. Brother West, oh, I didn't see this. Oh, okay. Dr. West, you just finished speaking about your love and your support for the LGBT community. For quite some time, there have been many theorists within the black community who feel that a quote, gay agenda is being pushed on the black community as a way of destabilizing our families, cutting back our population. I didn't say this, I'm a journalist. I speak to people who say this, across the country. I interviewed several people. When I'm asking you, I'm sorry, I'm just letting you know this is not, attack me after this. How do you feel, I'm going to ask both of you, but I want Dr. West to be answering first. How do you feel about, quote, alternative families? Do you feel that black families should be headed by a male and a female?
Yes.
Or are you in support of alternative families, say, 2 husbands, 2 wives?
Put him on the spot.
But first, we've got to look at 244 years where we had alternative families because the mothers and fathers were sold in different directions and the loved ones had to come in to take the young kids before they were sold and so forth and so on. So that the crucial thing about a family is the love and the shaping and the molding and the care and the targeting and the attention. So you can have a traditional family that doesn't have the care, attention, and love, and it's just family in the abstract. It's not love on the ground. Now, in the present day context, when you got lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgender folk, all of them made in the image of God. All of them worthy of love. All of them Now the question becomes, how do you deal with the claim that somehow it's an agenda coming from the outside? And see, this is fascinating because if we were to ask James Baldwin or Audre Lorde whether it was something that came from the outside, there has always been gay brothers and lesbian sisters. And I was 4 years old and I saw that brother playing the organ. And he was indispensable and integral to our church. And everybody knew he was gay.
A whole lot of church.
That's right. And it's not just the organ play. I'm just starting with the organ play. The thing is, it's hard to have a larger theological discourse about, well, the Old Testament says this, and Paul said that, but Paul said slaves be obedient to your master. We had an abolitionist movement that came out of the Bible. What did Jesus say? Now I'm mumbling a word. I'm a Jesus-centered Christian. Paul's letters are subordinate to the Jesus who lived, exemplifying that love. And so for me, the fundamental cause of the disintegration of the black family is the levels of unemployment and underemployment and the inability of us to be able to sustain our families with a self-love and self-respect of each other. Those two. And there are alternative families, gays and lesbians, that have high quality love. There are some that don't. There are traditional families that do, there are traditional families that don't. And so these are the kind of issues, these are tough ones now.
30 seconds.
These are tough.
Answer the question.
No, but the answer of the question is unemployment, underemployment. The fundamental ways in which we've been unable to sustain the love in our traditional families, and the escalation of the black voices of gays and lesbians within the black community. It's not something imposed from the outside. It's something that flows from the black community itself.
35.
I can't duck out of this one.
Go in, tell the truth.
You may agree with me, you may disagree with me, but I have to stand on what I believe and what I practice.
Right.
Now, I want to say that I do agree with Dr. West on the narrow point that we may disagree with your lifestyle, but we disagree with love. Because I want to say that every black man and woman on the face of the planet Earth is worthy of love and redemption.
That's right.
Now, let me state why I state what I say. I feel that the black community and the black family in specific, that we are in a state of war. We are in a state of warfare. And that we have lost a percentage of our soldiers, which is our men. We have lost a great percentage of our men on the battlefield. We lost them to prison. We've lost them to many ways. The black man is now underpopulated. The black woman needs the black man. I can't lie to you and say that there are more eligible heterosexual men that are needed for single black women who want and need a man. Am I right or am I wrong? Okay, so that being stated, from me, you know, I'm a military man with a military mind. I'm thinking about how many soldiers we got on the battlefield and how we don't want to lose the sisters to any other side. There's many other sides too. The backside. Hello? I have to be honest with you. I want every black man at service for the black woman, and when I see another black man put himself in service for another black man, I'm thinking, man, the numbers for the war to redeem the black family, we lose in the war. It's out of love now. So that's my perspective. I gotta be just very honest. You know, I'm old school. I'm Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. But I want to tell you something about me personally. I have mentored and mentor a man, and I serve not a man, but several men.
30 seconds.
And I help them in their lives, and they are 100% gay.
Yes, sir.
I have helped a man, I've helped them get through education, I mentor them, I wouldn't discriminate against them or harm them for anything in my life. I may disagree with them. Give me a minute, man, y'all chill, it's important. Chill about these brothers. I do disagree, I discuss my disagreements. But however, they will come here today, all right, I got you, chill. It's important. It's part of the black family. It's something that's eating away at us. Give us another minute, man. All right. Yes, but I won't go out of town for 2 years. I said the rule, I'm changing. Because I'm just saying, man, some of these questions is important. I mean, we have all the time to debate, but now you got to, when you ask a question like that, you got to allow, because there's people in the room that are dependent on the right answer. So yeah, I have my position and my disagreements with it, but it's a disagreement even out of love. And I can show you individuals that were coming here today. I mean, black men, stone cold, gay, switching all the way. And they will come in here and tell you that that man, Mr. Shabazz, fed me when I did not have food. He housed me when I didn't have housing. He took care of me. And I would be remiss to tell you if I don't be trying to get them back in arms. Because I love you, the black woman, and the black family, most of all. So this is a different perspective. I understand what you're saying about others that have come up in our community. They say enter that happen to be gay, and I cannot deny it. That is a historical fact.
You would acknowledge that James Paul stayed in the army. He stayed right there.
Okay, well, I understand. Allows this moment. I'm not saying that he couldn't shoot a gun. I'm not saying because of his sexual orientation he wasn't an effective fighter. There's people that get it. What the hell?
You ain't lying.
All right. But when I'm talking about a soldier, I mean a soldier here for the black woman and for the war for the black nation. All right, so I'm sorry, but that is my answer, and that's how I live my life.
Man's law is different from God's law.
Go there.
Two different things.
I go there.
Question from the audience.
All right, which God?
So,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, we gotta get some questions from the audience here.
Okay,
Yes.
peace family.
Lady here, others.
I am Brother Reggie again. I am representing Black News 102 again. In about 2 days, you will see about, only us got the mic. In about 2 days, we can guarantee about 20 to 30,000 black youth that's going to watch Black News 102 and watch this channel. That's why we're here. Now, one thing that we have to give these young black men and women who are in these streets, in these projects, they have to have a plan. We are the only people who go to war without a plan. All that other stuff that we're talking about, the gender stuff, we respect. It's all right. But you can put it in a plan. We are at war under Donald Trump. And he's going to take black lives. So can we prioritize what we're going to say and put it in a plan? We have written the Black City Plan. It's what you call open source. You can look at it, you can change it, you can add to it. But you got to give our people a plan. So, Dr. Cornel West, can you give us some idea of what needs to go in a black plan for our people? Or a plan for our people. I know how you include other people, but you owe the black youth who are dying some aspects of a plan, and then we go to the turn to Shabazz.
Great question.
To clean it up.
Yeah, I appreciate the passion and the spirit behind that question. I resonate with it. You see, I don't think there's just one plan for everybody. I don't think there's one plan for the whole black community. The black community has a number of different dimensions to it. We talk of the black community as if it's just a monolithic community. All the times I spend with black folks, especially the youth, teaching in prisons and high schools and so forth, I try to tell them that they come from a great people, so they should love themselves and respect themselves and find their voice and be organized based on their choices. There's a number of organizations in the black community that generate different kind of plans. Some will join New Black Panthers, others will join NAACP, others will join Urban, others will join Democratic Socialists, so forth and so on. There has always been, there will always be a variety of voices in the black community. And there will never be black unanimity on one plan. If we wait for that, we wait forever. What we need to do is have all of the different voices and plans come together in an alliance and a coalition in dialogue with each other and seeing where we overlap in order to hit the major issues that affect us, which are what? We need to eliminate poverty. We need to gain access to quality education, jobs with a living wage, control over our communities, especially with the police. And then we need to create some kind of larger effort to democratize the capitalist civilization. What I mean for that is redistribution of wealth downward. Downward. Now that's not just one plan, that's a variety of different organizations working together. Because if you act as if just one plan with one leader, never reach that point. Never reach that point. Now, did I misconstrue your question, my brother? I hope I didn't.
No, you answered it.
Yeah. So he's speaking to the thing.
You answered the question. So, okay, you answered the question.
Yeah.
But we have been doing that, doing the similar things since Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
but the thing is, though, brother, the only reason why you and I are here in our right mind is because folk follow particular plans by finding their voices and pass on the love they had to us. It's just that we have been unable to win black freedom in a white supremacist civilization up till now. And that's true. We are not victorious. Now, some folk maybe thought it was with the black president. You found out that was the case. We have not been victorious in black liberation that affects every black person that begins with the least of these. Now that's Garvey's point. Garvey's point was what? As long as black people are in America, the masses of black people will live lives of ruin and disaster because the major problem facing black people is disorganization. That's part of his genius. That he looked at black people from the lens of the masses, not the middle classes, and he understood we had to have massive organization. That's why Stokely would always talk about, you can't talk about black freedom unless you're organized in some way. But nobody's going to join it. Organization. But the question is, can we work together? So that's my attempt to answer that question. I know that we need so much more time.
Good answer. It's good context here. This is, first of all, man, I can't believe that I'm up here debating Dr. Cornel West. I can't believe that seriously, we're all blessed tonight. Now let's get into it. Now let me counter argue for a minute. I say, well, but it's not a contentious debate. Right. It's a debate for the minds and hearts and the freedom and liberation of our people. Right. We want to come to the audience next. Y'all hold tight here because this is critical here because we will be accused of engaging in this intellectual discourse here when it's actually much more than that. Okay, I want to say that I'm a professional organizer. I'm an attorney, all of these things that they said about me, but this man knows, and others here who know me, others who are sitting here in the audience from the Black Power movement, you know that my heart, my mind, my spirit, and my soul is as an organizer. And I'm always struggling and striving for a plan. Even if all our plans haven't worked out, I feel duty bound. I feel obligated to come here and propose a plan. Now, I'm pushing, I'm promoting, I'm advocating for the building of a mass movement for self-determination for our people. We need a mass movement. And we need a mass political party that represents our interests. Even though, Dr. West, we're not monolithic. Part of the reason what I'm doing here tonight and why we call for this and why I'm here with Dr. West tonight is not to debate each other so we can try to look big in front of anybody else. I'm here with Dr. West because he represents the civil rights and the Christian community, and I believe that me coming from the Black Power community and a Muslim background, that we got to show each other that it's time to end the divisions and embrace each other. There are people in the movement and what they call the progressive movement. The movement you see out there against police brutality in the streets and others, they follow him. When he went to Ferguson with Occupy and so forth, all of those groups, man has a following. Okay, and so what am I doing? I'm trying to build this Black United Front. I'm here, I got the new Black Panther Party here, the chairman Hashim and Zinga, and also they know that there are many out there that say that they are Black Panthers throughout America. I'm working all the while to end the divisions in the streets and to bring the Black Panthers all together. All together. We have to have a mass movement, and that movement must be reflective and respectful of all the different players and those that are willing to organize. Okay, and this mass movement can do a lot. I'm talking about for self-determination. Because those who say, well, Donald Trump is a good thing. You know, it's a good thing, Trump here, that's going to wake us up, that's going to wake us up. Now that's rhetoric. It's rhetoric to me unless a schemata, a plan is developed that will take us. Now if I had my perfect world in terms of organizing, I would line up the Black church, all of the Black church, or the most progressive elements of the Black church. I would line them up with the Nation of Islam. I would line them up with what they call the Orthodox Muslim community, the progressives amongst them. I would line them up with the Black nationalists. I would line them up, where's NBUF at? My young brothers and sisters from the National Black United Front. They're here. The National Black United Front. Quickly, don't cut me off. You're from a black organization, raise your hand high, tell me who you are. What's your group, Queen? What's your organization, sister?
I'm with the Nation of Israel.
Nation of Israel, just hold right there. That's hold right there, Nation of Israel. What we talking about, the Israelites and those. This is an outreach to you. This is a direct outreach from you right now. We're trying to build this movement, and you're an important part of it. What's your organization? Quickly, brother. Queen.
Black Reparations Now.
Black Reparations Now. It's something on my list. Something on my list. And we talk about later. We talk about having a meeting with Donald Trump. I'll tell them specifically what we want in that meeting. We want land. And I'll get into that later. Ain't nobody from the smart moderators asked that shit. Hold 1 second. What I'm trying to say is that, in a word, we need a mass movement for self-determination, and that helps us do for ourselves. And this movement would do what? It would focus on education. It would resist the attacks on education that's coming down from the new Secretary of Education. It would resist and fight those attacks, but also this movement, this mass movement would also focus on self-education and building our own schools, even charter schools. Oh, challenge me on it. Economics. This economic movement would focus on pooling our dollars, pooling our resources, financial education, and economic cooperation amongst us. That's what a movement amongst all the organizations and the leaders can get together and provide an economic plan for our people, as well as use the weapon of blackouts and boycotts. We have failed to use the fist, our economic fist and our spending power to bring it down on Trump's head.
Brother Malik, since you're on economics, we want to bring Sister.
All right, hold 1 second. Hold with the bucket. Hold with the bucket. All right, hold 1 second. It ain't time. It'll be time in a minute. It ain't time right now. We're talking about something critical here. At the crux of what we're doing here, EF5. Now, give me a minute. I'm jumping in. Hold 1 second. What I'm trying to tell you, my family, is that we're working right now on building a mass movement for self-determination. What I'm doing here with my beloved brother and elder is called outreach. I'm going different areas and other ways around the country trying to reach out with the olive branch to our sisters and brothers who are like the dry bones that are scattered in the valley, and the whipping winds of Trump is whipping on these bones, and they got to stand up. But they can't stand up unless somebody's out here working amongst them and ending the differences and bringing them together. Right. So what I want to say, a mass movement that is focused on education, a mass movement for self-determination or black power, which is focused on economics, a mass movement which has as a part of it manhood development, strengthening and standing up the black man and the black woman, a mass movement, sir, that doesn't leave your plan on the table. See, I meet activists like you everywhere, all around the country. Activists here, activists there, activists there, activists there. Who is it that's weaving and bringing them all together to give their plans life? Huh? What I'm saying is that maybe others out there doing it or trying to do it, but I'm going to tell you, I volunteer. I volunteer to give all I got to build a mass movement for self-determination, and I'm not afraid to give my number and information out to any other organizer out there to say that we need to come together right now and to give common expression to what we're doing. What one God, one aim, one destiny. A mass movement for self-determination includes defense. We must have a ministry of defense where we can defend ourselves and use the Second Amendment, and we must have arms. Yeah, right. Listen to me? We must have arms. We must have a mass movement for self-determination and undeniable, unquenching quest to stop the violence in our community. Even if it's being misconstrued, the violence has to be ended, it has to be stopped. Otherwise, Trump and others are continuing to look down on us. Every time that we're killing and shooting ourselves, and we looked at the video the other day, this little 2-year-old baby from Chicago, shot in the backseat of the car. It happens over and over again, and we have to stop denying reality. A mass movement. Meaning that not just the revolutionary organization, Nation of Islam, what about the nonprofits? What about the youth work? What about the social workers?
That's right.
You forgot about them, the ones that's mentoring and counseling and giving services? Brothers and sisters, we got a lot of work to do. And I'm here to tell you, brother, that don't give up on your city plan. I want to talk to you, I want to talk to any other organizer and talk about building a mass movement for self-determination as a basis for a mass political party. We need our own political party because both parties have let us down. They want me to do something else real quick. They're pressing me on it, and I'm always shy on doing it. But they want me to allow them to pass the bucket. And all we want to say is they're going to take a second on this, just while it's going around. If you can put in some $1 million bills in there, $1,000 bills in there. You know, this place is, you know, they're not letting no, you're going to let us in here, you're going to pay to get up in here and everything else. Regardless to it, help us out. If you want to make a check, make it out to Black Lawyers for Justice. And y'all discreet. Boy, I got our army over here. Y'all help us out. Put something in, some green in that machine, because we're going to fight for you. Okay? Look. Let me try to turn it back over to the moderator. I'm really mad at me now.
Yes, sir. We just have an announcement for everybody. We want to use hashtag Debate of the Decade. Debate of the Decade for all your pictures and all your social media. Debate of the Decade. All right?
Thank y'all so much. Thank you for helping. Help keep the movement going. Let's go to the audience. I want this. Who's over here?
Okay, just a couple of announcements. If you have not signed up for and given your name and email address for the Black Power Movement, please make sure you see our table before you leave for the night. Making sure you provide your email address as well as other pertinent information to support the Black Power Movement. It is every Tuesday on 733 Euclid Street, across the street from Howard University. This movement is moving move forward, please make sure you provide your email address. You will be able to be emailed a flyer and additional information.
Again, listen to that. Please sign in at the table in the front so that you can be on our information list so that you can know more about the local movement for Black Power. What I said in my answer was not just a theory, it's something that we practice every week. Where all of these issues I just named, we are organizing and trying our best to work out, and we're growing. 733 Euclid Street, Northwest DC, every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock is where a coalition of leaders, attorneys, activists, a whole group of people are fighting the issue of gentrification, education, violence, and everything like this thing. Let's go to the audience. Ma'am, you had a question. I want to take your question.
All right, at this point, we're going to open the panel up for questioning. We have a couple of key people that will be in line for questioning. I will call your numbers. Everybody has been given our tokens in regards to the line of questioning. The first question we're going to ask for tonight is going to be John Cheeks. We need John Cheeks to come with the first line of questioning for tonight. If you already spoken, we're going to take this lady here in regards to a question.
My name is Sylvia Pereira, and my question is basically it's most request, because we've been talking about resistance, and I would like to know your comments, or if you're planning to do something about the 200 people that were arrested the day of the inauguration and were being charged by the U.S. Attorney's Office with a felony charge, just for participating in the demonstration against Donald Trump.
Let me get this question clear. You say you're being charged with felony charges?
No, not me, but there are 200 people.
Which felony are you being charged with?
200 people who demonstrated. I don't know if everybody knows about it, but when they demonstrated on the day of the inauguration, 200 people were arrested, and they're being charged with rioting, which is a felony. And this is, well known. Among them, there were 4 journalists. So I don't know if you were aware of that.
Let me give you something quick. If you got something on that. I say, here's an email. Take my email, and I'd like you to contact me, and then between either the lawyers we have or lawyers that we connected to, you try to make sure you get a fair resolution to your problem. My email is attorney.shabazz@yahoo.com. Attorney.shabazz@yahoo.com. I want to know more about what you're saying. I want to know more about the charges. I want to know what happened in the circumstances in which felonies were charged. I will be happy to look into a report. What's your name?
My name is Sylvia Pereira.
Sylvia Pereira, okay. Thank you so much, I appreciate you. Okay, attorney.shabazz@yahoo.com, I'll answer you. That's for any other question.
No, that's
Question 30.
solidarity with the brothers and sisters.
Yeah, just quickly, my name is Atty. I come all the way from Melbourne, Australia. It's over 20 hours of flying to get here for this debate. My question, even though I live in Australia, my roots are in the Kingdom of Congo, and so the question I have for you, both of you here, is why is it that the strategical significance of the Democratic Republic of Congo, or that landmass, is underrepresented or understated?
Oh, you were absolutely right, though, brother. I mean, we didn't get a chance to talk too much even about Africa. We mentioned a little bit AFRICOM and the military expansion. But you're right, though. We didn't get a chance to talk about Congo. We didn't get a chance to talk about a number of the very crucial countries on the continent of Africa. There's no doubt the 21st century is going to be one in which the struggle for Africa, China on the one hand, other countries, including the USA, in on that struggle. How do we connect with self-determination struggles? among Africans themselves, vis-a-vis the Chinese coming in, vis-a-vis the United States coming in, military as well as economic force. So in that sense, brother, I'm so glad you raised the issue so that we get a chance to at least acknowledge it. But you were absolutely right, we didn't get a chance to explore it the way we should. But it's so good to have you all the way here from Australia.
First of all, appreciate you, brother, taking the time to travel. I want to meet you.
Absolutely.
And I want to just say in a word, I went to South Africa last year, which is called Zambia. And I've been to South Africa and Zimbabwe a couple of years before that. I was working with some of the veterans in the Pan-African Congress of Zambia, the Pan-Africanist Congress of Zambia. I also went over there and I met with many of the representatives of the young man I greatly admire, named Julius Malema, of the Economic Freedom Fighters. Okay, so what I'm saying is through our mission to Africa and what we have pledged to do and promised to do, we are currently working on building a worldwide Pan-African movement. Earlier I said I believe that the real power here is beyond being a minority. It's a power in connecting with all of our African brothers and sisters in the diaspora. So brother, at the end I would like to speak with you and go into that with you because I believe that you're that dedicated to travel all the way from Australia.
Yes, sir.
That you are a dedicated freedom fighter. And we're calling for all of the freedom fighters around the planet that believe in what we're teaching, which is black power, at least what I'm teaching. Then we want you to consider joining in with us so we can fight on a common front. All right? Now, everybody's free to, I mean, we can pass it around too. We don't want to force everybody to walk. But I want everybody who's here, regardless of race, to have a chance to ask questions. Because I do have something I want to say to the progressive members of what they call the white left. I want to say something specifically to y'all before this is out. If that's okay. Sir? Let's this man jump in real quick. You mind? And then you come to you, bro. Come on, sir. What is your question? Mass movement. Yes, sir.
Means basically, in terms of what's happening now, taking direct action, organizer, especially now, not tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Because the White House right now is in such disarray, is in such disorganized way that is more easy now than tomorrow to organize the action against those who are having the power now. My only concern is not to restrict this movement to a color. Needs to be multi-colored in order to succeed. What do you think about that?
And that word die, you put a lot of emphasis on that thing. I didn't hear that word die. Die what?
Direct action.
Oh no, the other word. Multiracial, multicultural.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Is that for me first or Dr. West?
No, but I'm going to give my brother my time. I think you're right, but it has to be done in a certain kind of way. But yeah, go right ahead. It's got to be
well, let me let the expert on that go first.
Yeah, I think it's definitely got to be multiracial, but it can't be viewed as if a race is just one issue among other issues. In this nation, white supremacy was the very foundation upon which capitalism was based. And therefore, there has to be a centrality of the vicious legacy of white supremacy as you have a multiracial movement. So, and so I'm agreeing with you done a certain kind of way.
All right. guess since I'm the black musician, man, I'm gonna be on the spot with this question. What is your name, sir?
My name is Rodolfo. I'm from Peru, and I'm coming from a real personal experience.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. All right. Here's a real multicultural vision. I want to say assignment, but I'm going to say vision. Let's say I'm trying to give out orders. Now check this out. The White House is in confusion. Donald Trump is off to a rough start, a rough ride. There's a lot of infighting. And there are people within the Congress, Republicans, and governors. There are many who are uncomfortable with his presence in the presidency. Even though they're in the Republican Party and they're going on for the ride, they wish Trump would be out, because Trump is an embarrassment. I mean, he is an embarrassment in many instances. He's a nightmare.
Yes.
All right. Now, let's look at his mentality. The psychologists have observed Mr. Trump. I read a letter where 37 psychologists declared him to be mentally unfit for the office. He has an incapability of accepting wrong, an incapability of self-reflection. He blames everything on everyone else, and he carries out certain behavioral characteristics in his behaviors. Well, access to narcissism, however you want to name it. The bottom line to it is that the people are angry at Trump, and the way he goes about his business, they are going to be even more angry with him. Now, can I hearken your memory back to 1991? 1991 in Eastern Europe. You thought that communism would never fall, right? Communism in Eastern Europe, in East Germany, in Hungary, in Poland, and so forth, was backed by Moscow, and it was backed by the finance and the tanks from Moscow. Is that right? It was backed by military force. It was a one-party system, and you thought that it would never be broken. I mean, it was long after the beginning of the Cold War, communism stood strong, and if you couldn't defeat the tank, you couldn't defeat communism. Is that right? Yet communism failed. I'm not going to you communists. I'm not attacking the communists. I'm giving an example. I'm showing you how the people rose up in mass numbers, and they surrounded the presidential palaces in communist Eastern Europe, and they took the government out of power. They took the presidents out of power by surrounding their palaces and their centers of power. Are you listening to me? Yes. Buckle your seatbelts for a minute. If your seat get too hot, raise up and fan it a little bit. And sit back down. This is some real revolutionary talk. I'm about to talk to you up here, but it's all unclassified. It ain't classified. But I want you to take that as an example, to think that no matter how strong something looks, it can fall with the will of the people. It can fall with the will of the people. Now, in this specific instance, I'm talking to black, brown, yellow, red, and I'm talking to white. I'm talking to the white left, I'm talking to Occupy, I'm talking to all of you white radicals out here, right? You want a mission? Let's look at 2011. Mubarak was a dictator over Egypt. The people are massed in what they call Tahrir Square. They wouldn't leave. They massed on Tahrir Square in what they call the beginning of the Arab Spring, and they would not leave, and they surrounded the presidential palace, and within a few weeks, Mubarak was gone. I had a vision. It might have just been a dream. I don't know. I had a vision. I don't know if you had a vision. But I had a vision one night. I saw the White House surrounded. I mean, I was just a vision. I'm serious too. I saw in a vision the White House at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue surrounded by thousands. I saw Lafayette Park dominated by thousands, maybe 100,000, 200,000. I saw a vision where I saw 16th Street, 17th Street, George Washington Parkway Memorial, 14th Street Bridge. I saw it shut down in a vision, only in a vision. I saw in a vision that what happened in Tahrir Square, that what happened in East Germany, and calculating the mindset and the belligerence and the arrogance of Mr. Trump, building up the anger of the masses of the people, and I saw the people converging on the White House. Y'all getting quiet now, man. Damn, it's just a dream. In reality, it's only a movie, right? Remember this, it's only a movie script proposal. Don't get caught up in it. NSA, FBI, Army questions. It's only a proposal. I mean, not a proposal. It's only... Good. You want this chump out of here? You can't have a march for one day. No. Million women marching. One day? Get out of town by sundown? 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 people that pissed at Trump, even though they got different and convergent interests, they got one enemy. If they had a mass demonstration, mobilization, and they wouldn't leave like they were supposed to not leave in '63, and they stayed 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, weeks, that Trump would be damn surrounded. What the hell is he gonna do? He gonna call the army out? He gonna call them? How many black soldiers is gonna clear the streets? I see y'all done got quiet up here. You ain't talking, boy. I'm trying to tell you this. You can talk about impeachment. Impeachment is important, but it's dependent on the political will of political officials. Right. And I'm saying, this ain't from Attorney Shabazz, this ain't from anybody in this room, but I'm saying if at some point a mass movement moves on that White House, this chump will be running down 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, trying to catch it, put his shirt, tie his shirt back up, so he can lift it all behind. You better clap stronger than that.
Yeah.
It's something where I can see white, black, red, yellow, and
that would be a multiracial coalition. And we should also note, as a rich footnote, when Brother Martin Luther King Jr. said he wanted to organize all poor people of all colors, he said, I'm coming to Washington, D.C., we're going to have a resurrection city, and we're not leaving until they pass legislation to eliminate poverty. They stayed there week after week after week, but they had already shot us. So the Resurrection City set in right after. Sister Coretta Scott King and Ralph Abernathy and many others came right after. But there's similarities in terms of the longevity of the witness. And that's a crucial point. But I know we got a long line here.
Can we go to the next question?
We got a young man.
1 minute, we have a long time.
Right on, my brother.
Peace. First and foremost, I'd like to thank y'all for coming out and giving us great wisdom. I would like to, my question is, being as though the house is packed tonight, because of the love and respect and admiration that we have for y'all, but it also ties to a savior complex in the black community in America, ever since Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and before and after that. How do we take that energy and move it to work for self and become our own saviors so that we can build, sustain, and defend our families and communities? We work day in and day out in the community. I apologize. My name is Brother Zulu. I'm with National Black United Front DC chapter. And we work day in and day out trying to help feed the people, clothe the people, educate the children. So that was my question.
Salute the work you do though, brother. Salute the work you do. And I think it's very important. We got two different frameworks. For too long, we've been tied to the Messianic framework, looking for one main leader who brings all of the goods to the people, and we follow him or her like a Pied Piper. I think that's got to go. That's got to go. Ella Baker had another framework. She said you have to organize, mobilize grassroots, each find their voice. And yes, there's going to be people who have different gifts, but all of those gifts have to be appreciated. And there has to be a collective leadership so that the days of the HNIC are over. The head Negro in charge over. It's got to be collective voices, all being able to use their gifts in such a way that you get that kind of empowerment among each and every member of the organization. And when that organization is attacked, they don't have to attack just that one Messianic figure. Cut off the head. Because when you have the collective framework, you got all these heads. Does that make sense to you? I appreciate that. When you said Ella Baker versus Mark, we love both of them, but Ella Baker was much more jazz-like. See, in John Coltrane's quintet, sometimes Elvin wanted to lead from the drums, and sometimes McCoy Tyner led from the piano, sometimes Frederick Wilson led from the bass, depending on what was going on and whose song was being done. That's very different.
Young man, I got one simple word for you. And for all those who are faced with that question, let's cut a deal. National Black United Front, Washington, D.C., cut a deal with the Black Power movement. Cut a deal with us so we can have a common schedule, a common agenda. They don't need to have all these, you know what I mean? We can have different meetings in our own identity, but when we going to break bread? To sit down and cut a deal. We got to cut that deal for liberation. I ain't too big to sit down and cut a deal with a young man like yourself. We just sit down and cut the deal. We had to cut some deals. Trump talking about cutting deals, we cutting deals. It's time for us to cut some deals.